Hey, security peeps, it's Renee Small here, and I am here with Romen Brewer. Hey, Romen. And we are here doing our Breaking into Cybersecurity webinar podcast series. And Romen comes to us from Houston, Texas. And I'm excited to hear Romen's story. Romen he's a security analyst. He's been in the industry for just about 5 years. He's going to jump right in, tell us all about how he broke into the industry, how difficult it was, what the journey was like. Because I know he's had a bit of a journey getting here, but he landed this amazing opportunity. So, Romen, jump in and tell us how you broke in. What made you interested in security to start?
Okay. So I can dive in and do a quick backstory. For me, I've always been interested in technology, so I knew that was going to be the future. I tinkered with things, and I was a nerd, so I played video games a lot as opposed to just being outside. So yeah, I was still am very, very nerdy and love video games and things like that. Mm-hmm. So that kind of, and if anybody that is a gamer that has been a gamer for a while, about, cheating and hacks and things like that. So I've always been aware of security, but I just did not know that it was actually a career path. I was the only one in my family that was interested in technology like that. And, so I kind of had to figure it out on my own, my path. But it wasn't until I went to college and studied, computer information systems that I had, he's now my mentor, but I had a mentor at the time come to my university and speak about, security. He walked in the classroom and said, "Hey, I'm a hacker and this is what I do." And it literally just charged my interest because I never knew that was something that I could do. So that's why I kind of got into technology in general. I've always liked it, but security was kind of always this thing in the background that I knew existed, but didn't know existed.
Wow. Well, it's so good that you explain that, because I think a lot of people, they don't understand the synergy between gaming and security, or gaming and technology. And over, I've heard stories just like yours about all of the folks who are gamers, mm-hmm. who consider themselves. It's so funny. My little son, he's like, "Oh, I'm such a nerd," and he says it in a bad way. I'm like, dude, that's a good thing.
Nerds are cool. Nerds are the coolest. So
that's what I said. And so it's great for especially people in high school and people coming up and people in college, and even parents. You know how many parents I talk to and they say, "My kid is just sitting at home and all they do is play video games." I'm like, that's a really good thing for them to be there playing video games. So you had this so this is awesome. So you're at school, you're doing computer science, you're not really, so did your computer science program have any security, anything related to cybersecurity in it?
No, actually. At the time, I was just learning about IT in general. And to be frank, I was not a good student. I was probably about a C/D student throughout my entire life. I learned differently. I really struggled with the structure of the educational system that I was in. Mm-hmm. And, I just wanted to play video games. That's mm-hmm. all I did. I just wanted to play with technology and be in that space, and just the typical education system just didn't really foster that.
Yeah.
So, that's always tough. But, I definitely persevered. And when I got into college and finally got into my major and the major classes, it was like, I'm finally here.
That is awesome. Okay, so Chris is trying to jump in. So let's try to let him.
Oh, perfect.
Let's see. He should be coming on shortly. And we will continue though while he gets in.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. There you are.
Hey.
Excellent.
Hey, how are you doing?
So we are live. Everyone, this is Chris Foulon. You know him. So Roman just talked about how he went through his undergraduate degree. He was a gamer in high school. He was totally into video games, a complete and total nerd. Woo-hoo. And like the rest of us, and has gotten to, so we just got to the point where he had a mentor, the person is his mentor now, but he had come to his university, talked about how he was a hacker, and it lit Roman up, and Roman said, that's what I want to do. So
Nice.
Roman, tell us about, so what did he say when he came in and said, hey, I'm a hacker? And like, what was it about what he said that really got you excited?
So as soon as he said hacker, my eyes lit up, but I immediately went to TV references, black screen, lots of green letters, and then all of a sudden things are shutting down. So, I was very curious about that. And after he did his little talk and we had our one-on-one, I was curious about, how do I learn more about this? I'm learning about all these cool things in IT, which I love, but I had no idea that I needed to, what do I do? How do I get there? And he said, well, you're already doing the right thing because security is such a niche field. You kind of have to know how things work. And the fact that you're learning how everything works and are experimenting and things like that, this will help you in security. So many people don't realize, they're working in help desk or they're working wherever, and they think like, I'm not getting closer to security, but you are, and I had to realize that even as a student.
Yeah. Chris knows because Chris was in the help desk space for years and did support prior to moving into security field. So it's fun. It's one of those things that we tell people all the time too. Like we understand the folks who are going back to school, getting the degrees, and they want to jump directly into like an analyst role, which makes perfect sense. But if they have the opportunity to get in through, some of these other channels, or if they're already sitting in a help desk now and trying to figure out, well, how do I break in? Well, you're already in, you just got to move around. So
there's that. And then there's also all the transferable roles that are similar, transferable skills that are similar in the different fields that you just have to take a different skew to it. And that way you can translate it to security. So even in the gaming fields, so if you figure out how the game works and the way to crack the code, that's the same way the attacker is going to approach it. So you have to figure out how they're going to come in, and then you can work to stop that gap.
Very true.
Absolutely. So Roman, so then tell us how you got from the point where, this person comes in, he tells you he's a hacker, you're like, oh my God, this is what I want to do. Then walk us to how you got into your first role.
So, well, after that, I had a very real conversation with my advisor about, my grades and my chances. Honestly, I didn't really have much of a chance at internships because my grades were so bad. But I knew that I could subsequent, my grades after college for side projects. So at that point, I was already learning a little bit outside of the classroom, but I decided to shift my focus from, just learning things here and there and turning them into projects. So when I graduated, I had, a few things that I had worked on, in between classes, and I tried to use that to look for roles. And I honestly didn't have very much luck. When you first graduate, you kind of don't have much to go off of. And I've always worked in technology. I worked in the cell phone industry for years. I did sales and I did technical work there too. So I've always been tinkering with technology, and I had that sort of a help desk experience, so to speak. But it was very challenging for me to find my first role because I didn't have good grades. I didn't have an internship, and I just, I interviewed well, but getting in the door with so many things against you, it's just challenging for anybody. So what I decided to do was move. So I moved. I'm originally from Louisiana. I moved to Texas with talking to my mentor, and I decided to get my master's. So most people, when they graduate with their bachelor's degree, they kind of jump right into the industry. I wasn't sure if I was going to have that option. So I kind of wanted a plan B. So I probably spent, 6 months looking for a job, while I had my current job. And when that wasn't working out, I decided to get into grad school. I thought that it would be a better way for me to, of course, come out with a better GPA. And then it would give me another chance to network and meet people, specifically in cybersecurity, to kind of help me get into that first role. But while I was trying to get into that master's program, I actually got into my first role, my first technical role, which was sort of a database engineer slash web app support. So was not the most technical out of all of the applicants, but I interviewed well, and they liked the way that I thought and tackled problems. So that's what got my first kind of web app support slash database engineer role. And that really catapulted my career, honestly. I got to learn a lot of different skills because it was sort of a smaller team. So I'm literally working with database people, I'm working with system admins, I'm working with consultants, business analysts. I'm just the whole, IT project lifecycle. I get to work with everybody, and also travel and consult and meet other clients and things like that. So that was kind of my entry into consulting. So I used that alongside of my master's program. So everything that I learned in security, I would go to class on Tuesday, learn a security concept or, situation, and then I'd go to work the next day and say like, oh, this is how it would work and this is how it would play out. And then I'd ask ask the developer, what would happen in this situation? And I kind of built that experience without having a security job at the time.
And I think you pointed out a very critical aspect. How you think about things is very critical to hiring managers, because oftentimes it's said that we can train you on the security, but we can't train you how to think critically. We can't train you to be curious. We can't train you to have that determination to figure out the problem, but we can train you on the security. So if you have that curiosity and that drive, that'll get you really far, in addition to having some background in the field.
That's so true. Roman, another question I have, you said you were really prepared, or you interviewed really well. And I know that's usually a big struggle for people. How did you prepare yourself for the interviews? And how did you become such a great interviewer?
So as I said before, I worked in the cell phone industry for years. Before the technical roles in the cell phone industry, I started out in sales. So that kind of gave me all the background. Interviewing had never been a problem because I had so much soft skill experience dealing with different types of people. And as Chris said, the technical stuff was easy for me to learn because I was interested in it. It is very difficult to work with people that have very strong technical skills, but not very strong soft skills. So I learned that, and that I use that as an advantage. I use that, and it worked out well. And as soon as I got in, I quickly ramped up technical.
That's awesome. Now, that's a really good point, that the soft skills are so key. And another thing that hiring managers look for, to Chris's point, there's certain things they can teach, and, being a mean person and turning that person into a nice person is pretty difficult. But being able to collaborate and, interacting with different people at all levels, and everything that you experienced for all those years in that sales job and the cell phone space must really easily translate over into your current role, especially as a consultant.
Absolutely. And at the time, I did not realize that. I thought, I worked in sales, or, I did this and that. Not really an IT job, quote unquote, but no, all of those soft skills and problem solving and triaging issues, in customer service and in help desk type roles. They teach you how to think, they teach you how to solve problems. And then the soft side of it is I can actually speak to that. I can say, this is the problem, this is what I did, and this is what happened. This is the result. I can translate technical things and make them not so technical for people that need to know, and vice versa. That is a skill in itself. But at the time I thought, I'm a jack of all trades and a master of none, or, I'm not good enough. But, you learn that that is a skill in itself.
Exactly.
Definitely, and I think on the aspect of being able to see the objections or the requirements that the customer is asking you for, and to be able to speak it back to them in a way that you comprehend what you're asking for, and if you're not asking for the right things, to be able to correct them and to show them where they could have improvements in their requirements.
And then the aspect of patience. I know we had another person on, and Chris, you know this from experience. When people talk about sitting at that help desk, that you see people at their absolute worst. And I know I struggle right now with I have cell phone issues. And if I show up somewhere, I'm gonna want to throw the cell phone at someone. So you're getting people when they're really, really, at their wits' end, and you're able to diffuse that. And those skills are so transferable, but like you said, you didn't know that at the time. So I really, really want to, I keep reiterating that, because people don't realize that a lot of times, and I probably said this before, people want to throw away the baby with the bathwater. That they don't think about, or they just don't know that they have these experiences that are easily transferable into other experiences. So to your point, you thought, oh, I'm not technical, I'm not this, I'm not that, but you brought all these other skills. And to Chris's point, you can teach your technology. Like, we can teach hiring managers, say this all the time. I speak to leaders. Can't teach is, you knowing how to speak to X executive, or build a relationship with someone across the room who right now hates you because their cell phone isn't working, And so that's so very important. Another thing I want to bring up, because you talk about some different adversities that you've had, the grades. So you said your grades weren't that great, you had some learning challenges even in college, and then you still got into grad school. So I know some people even, they struggle, and they think they put up, not that they put barriers up, but barriers are up. It is what it is. But you were able to even overcome that, get yourself into grad school with the grades that you had, and then, get a new opportunity. So talk to us about the that experience, like applying to grad school. Did you have to apply to multiple? Where what did you like?
So, so I can say my mentor. This is where mentorship really, came through. We had a very real conversation about, my options. I expressed to them, hey, my grades aren't good. I'm not getting any jobs. I'm applying to 200 plus, jobs, and, nothing's happening. What do I do? And then I had never thought that I should go to grad school. I thought, oh, IT people don't go to grad school, or, oh, like I had all these things that I just, you think and you hear from other people that put stuff in your head. But and when I applied to grad school the first time, I actually was not accepted. So what I can say to that is, you look at all your options and then you pick the best one for you. But also, people say the word persevere a lot, in IT and in security and whatever you want in life. I like to think that I like to think that I like to use the word relentless for me. Like, perseverance is fine, but to me, relentlessness is really key. You have to be able to send that email, to follow up with that person, to meet with these people, to, okay, if, I don't meet your skills and qualifications now, how do I get there? And then you kind of just don't stop. So I definitely hit so many walls that I can't even begin to talk about, financially, academically, not knowing how to network properly, even though I had those skills, how do you use them? how do you utilize them?
Mm-hmm.
These are things that trial and error and perseverance or relentlessness will give you eventually. So yeah, after trying a few times, yeah, I did finally get into grad school, and I was great. I was a well over 3.0 student, and because of my, I won't even call them failures at this point, because of my challenges, I was able, when I got in there, I was able to do exactly what I needed to do, when I need to do, ask the right questions. I was a different person during that time. I asked heavily professors, yes, how does this translate into what I do today? How does this translate into security or where I want to go? Question, hey, I didn't understand this. Because of my challenges, I was able to advocate for myself more because I was all I had. So those were things that I learned throughout those challenges of not having good grades, not having connections, not having privileges that other people have. You either sink or swim. It becomes literally almost life or death. So
Now, what made you?
Relentlessness.
No, it's awesome what you talk about, because I appreciate the folks who had it relatively laid out. Like they check every box and it happens, and they get great grades. And I'm not knocking any of that. I think it's phenomenal. But there's something to be said for folks who have struggled in the beginning and have overcome and have applied to 200 roles and have, of all the folks that we've spoken to, some of our very first guests, I think it was the very first guest, so early guest, and he said I applied to 200 positions, and there was another young lady who said I interviewed 35 times, so by the time I got to the 36th interview, I was cool as a cucumber. You talk about somebody who's applied to, had learning differences, got into college, grades weren't that great, applied, got declined multiple times, and finally get into the program that you want, and then you soar. Like, that just goes to show, talk about, like you say, relentless. My mom used to say always, persistence seldom fails. Like, like if you keep going and going and going, like the Energizer Bunny, eventually somebody's going to be like, I got to give this guy a shot. And, that happened for you. And I think that's amazing. And it's such a good story to tell to folks who are sitting in the shoes that you were in 2 years ago, 5 years, how many ever years ago, struggling to get to where they are. Now, what made you move from Louisiana to Texas?
For one, it was close. So like I said, I had my own financial challenges. I needed to pick a place where, if, I ran out of support, whatever that looked like, I could at least get back home. Also, the program that I went to at the University of Houston was great. And I immediately, I visited there many times. I met the professors, like we had our one-on-ones, and we really built a rapport early before I even got into the program. So I kind of, out of all the other schools that I looked at and tried to connect with, that was just a school that just, did it for me. And I knew the goal was to get a job at graduation or be offered a job by graduation, and I absolutely accomplished that. So I would say it was a worthwhile investment.
No, that's fantastic. That's awesome. I know, Chris, you typically have a great ending question.
Yeah, well,
almost at the half hour.
Yeah, we still have a couple minutes. I think one subject that we didn't ask Roman about yet is, so outside of your education, what did you do to supplement your knowledge and your perseverance to excel in the field?
So I like to say this a lot, University of YouTube. That's like my best friend. I would literally, because I liked video games, so I could just say I started with that. I picked something that I was passionate about, picked something that I really liked and could get behind, and then I found a problem. After you find a problem, you plan a solution. You attempt to solve it with that solution. Whether you succeed or fail, you document what you learn along the way, and then you practice speaking to it for somebody else. That's a kind of an interview tip that I used. I take the projects that I do, the side projects and whatever I'm trying to learn, and then I document it all, and then I practice presenting it or talking about it, because you never know who you're going to meet, in the elevator, at a restaurant, wherever, at a networking event, and you need to be able to showcase how you think.
Okay.
You need to be able to showcase that. So I think that's really what I did.
Perfect. And then any last wisdom for someone following in your shoes, one tip that you would give them?
I would say, well, the reason I got the job that I have, not only did I interview well, but I never knew about consulting or IT or security consulting in general. I didn't know anything about that. But a LinkedIn connection that I made and fostered, the relationship back and forth over some months. Finally, we talked on the phone, and then after hearing my story and talking to them about what I was trying to do, they actually put in a good word with another recruiter to talk to another recruiter, which helped me, at least get to where I needed to go to eventually interview and get where I needed to be. So I would say networking is key, but if you don't have a network, you use it, find it and use it, whether that's LinkedIn, whether that's Twitter. I've gotten job offers off of Twitter, believe it or not. Like, the security community will embrace you, but you have to engage. You have to engage and give back. So.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And Renee, thanks for getting everything together on a Wednesday and arranging it all.
A little midweek fun today, but Roman, thank you so much for your story. I think it'll be so inspiring for so many people. The various challenges that you've had to overcome, and now you're in this amazing role doing wonderful things, and we know already that you're just going to continue to soar and do much more great things in the future, and continue to share this knowledge and wisdom, because I think there's so much to be said from your background and being a gamer, being in high school, not necessarily know what you wanted to do, and then getting to this point where you are now in a phenomenal organization and a great role. So thank you.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.